Welcome back to another episode. Today's topic is attention. And I'm happy to have your attention because you're actually watching me today. So, why attention today? Why attention today? Well, attention means applying your mind to something, right? It's when your mind's actually doing work. So, usually we think of our bodies doing work when we actually have to do physical labor. But when our minds do work, our attention is being captured. We actually apply our focus to something. And believe it or not, it takes a lot of energy to apply your mind to something. Just like when you're doing a laborious task and it puts a strain on your body, the same thing happens with the attention for your mind. So with that, your mind actually has to do a lot more than you actually think. When you're walking around and you're actually choosing something to do, for all the distractions that exist out there, your mind has to filter all that out and just focus on that one thing that you're going to apply yourself to. Now, you can see how difficult it can be when you're, let's say, working to multitask and do a lot of different things at once. Usually the quality may not be the best. You may be able to do a few different things, but the quality is not the best. But when your mind focuses and it's razor sharp, you can get a lot done and a lot accomplished. So attention means applying your mind to something. Now, this video does come with a warning. And the warning is you are about to be programmed. Not sure if you've really heard that before, but I wanted to put the disclaimer there. Because when you actually put your attention to something, you actually are learning the most that you possibly can within that moment. The moment you actually choose to focus on something and apply your attention to it, you're in learning mode. You want to understand and absorb everything you can in regards to what you actually have your attention on. So what you focus on is actually what you learn. And so I put the disclaimer out there, you are being programmed, because simply by paying attention to me, you're going to be learning something. And I want to make sure that I can be a trusted source for you to actually get that information from. So that's why I put the warning there. I should probably put it on all the videos, but particularly for this one, since we're talking about attention, wanted to make sure I threw that out there. Now, attention is the state where the most learning happens. Now, this topic was actually brought up today because I witnessed and overheard something that happened in my daughter's class session, because she's doing distance learning and she's doing it on the computer. And I heard something because I was in the other room, and it piqued my attention. I had to hear what was going on. So I heard my daughter's teacher say, Sydney, I need you to turn your camera back on. Now, for full disclosure, my daughter is 5, and this is her first year doing distance learning, and she's doing it all on the computer, but she's very tech savvy. So apparently she knew how to turn off the camera. But what was even funnier is when the teacher told her to turn her camera back on, she's like, "Now, Sydney, I know you appreciate drawing, but I need you to pay attention to what we're doing in class right now." So I heard that, and I was just like, I felt like a kid and being in her class, like, oh, Sydney got in trouble. But the thing is, it wasn't even about that. It was the sophistication she had to turn off her camera so that the teacher could not see what she was actually doing, right? And I thought about that, and I was like, she got in trouble for that. But think about how many adults do the very same thing, where if we're not interested in something, we tune out. Or if we're doing something else and we don't want the video to be shown of us, that we also turn our cameras off, right? That's an option. That's just like mute, right? Being able to turn the camera off. And I know I've done that a couple times because I like to use my hand, so I don't want to show a sign of disrespect by doing things that aren't related to the call or the video, but I'm still overhearing and interacting if I can. So I thought that was very special and very interesting, because when it happens, it can turn the attention off, right? So literally by Sydney turning her camera back on, the teacher wanted her attention, but there's no guarantee she's actually going to get it. Attention and grabbing someone's attention is something that cannot be forced. You cannot force it. It's like taking a horse to water. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. The same thing with someone's attention. Just because you have someone's attention or you're working to capture it, you can't force that. And if you're working to teach something, you can't actually make someone learn. They have to make that a choice. So if you're going to learn, you want to like it. That's why you put your attention there in the first place. So what makes today, in this day and age, so challenging is we're in the information age where you are being bombarded by many different forces vying for your attention. Some of those forces win, some of those forces lose, but it's all programming, right? The moment something captures your attention, they're working to feed your mind something that could be in your best interest and it may not. But if they're choosing to do it, it's something that they see as their best interest, and you have to make a decision of whether it's good for you or not. But there's all sorts of tactics that are being used to capture your attention, because once they capture it, they want to pour in whatever they can. So whatever you are spending the most time on is programming you. Let me say that one more time. Whatever you spend the most time on and put the most attention into is programming you. And it's no different than a cable being put into a television or your computer being hooked up to the internet. There's information coming in, and unless you're filtering what that information is, that's what's programming you. Now, if you've ever seen Neo in the Matrix, I'm going to have a lot of references to that movie because it's so transformational. I'm still learning stuff about it to this day. You'll recognize it when Neo is sitting in the chair and he's got that plug in the back of his head, and he's just absorbing all this information about hand-to-hand combat. He's just a machine, and he's just taking it and taking it and taking it. That's all programming. But it's something that he wanted. It's something that he appreciated. It's something that he was actually putting to use. So that's the big thing. When you're getting programming, you want to understand what is programming you. What's the feed? What's the information coming in? Is it something that allows you to satisfy whatever it is that you want, what your goals are? Now, you'll recognize when forces are combating for your attention, you're going to see a number of different motivations by those forces. And to just give you a few, school. When you're in school, you have to think what the actual environment is. And in school, you're being taught to be something. You're being taught most likely to be an employee of one sort or another. If that doesn't align with what you want, you'll probably find yourself distracted or not interested by some of the things that are taught within that environment. And recognizing that Sydney, when she was told by the teacher to turn her camera back on, what she was doing was drawing. And she draws everywhere. It doesn't matter if we're in the car, she has her form expression through drawing. I know she's going to be extremely successful with drawing because she does it all the time. That's her strength. But school isn't something that aligns with the best right now, especially early on. So the most important thing for her is to make sure she understands what she needs to learn. And as parents, we have to make sure we explain those things to her as well. But that's a huge one where teachers want to exhibit control, because if they don't have the control within the classroom, it's a question of who has it, because it exists somewhere. Internet, TV, radio, you already know that engagement and sales are what happens a lot within those various environments. But again, there's useful things. You just have to actually find what those actually are. People, you get support, learning, help from your family, your friends, and your network. Religion, you get community and your well-being. But there is a huge component that you need to make sure that you are getting programmed by, and that is you. You have to understand what it is you actually want. And if all your attention is going to all the things that are happening around you, and you're not taking time for yourself to understand what's going on in your own head, you're missing out. You need to understand what your goals, your dreams, and your aspirations are. And if you aren't listening to yourself, you're not hearing yourself. So literally just by putting it in the world and actually listening and hearing what you have to say, you're writing it down. Those are forms of putting your attention on yourself. And that's something that you need to do. Incredibly important to do. So I told you I was going to program you on something, right? That's probably the biggest thing. You need to start programming yourself. Don't let everything in the world around you program you. Learn to program yourself. Now, for this world and the times that we live in, there are a lot of disparities. There are a lot of folks that are upset or angry because they see a divide, right? And there is no bigger example of that than the riot that actually happened at the Capitol earlier this week. And so with that, why do we have things like that happen? Well, the biggest thing is different people focus on different things. And you can see that just in all the various environments that we have around us. There's a focus of folks being hurt, of folks being angry, of folks feeling things aren't fair. But at the same time, people get what they focus on. So if they're focusing on certain things that may not be the most positive, they're learning from those very same resources. And that's why I said it's super important to understand what you're doing and how you're being programmed. And with that, it's going to happen. It's going to exist. But that does not have to be you. And the reason it doesn't have to be you is because you can choose your programming. Don't just let anything and everything around you influence you. Make a decision on where that information is actually coming from, of how it's impacting you, of how you're impacting the world. And so I thought this was a super important topic, especially today, because we need to put the attention to things that maybe we haven't looked at in a while. Put attention on things that maybe we haven't focused on yet. Because as soon as we have an understanding of what's going on in the world around us, we can make better educated decisions. And the only person who can make the best decision for a person is that person. So in other words, you can only make the best decisions for yourself, and that should be your decision to make. So I say choose your programming, choose wisely. I appreciate you tuning in. And again, I love doing this stuff. I love sharing content, especially the things that I learn. And there's plenty more. So I hope to continue to engage with you. Hope you enjoyed this clip. If you do, like it. If you do, follow me. And I hope to catch you on the next episode. All right. Bye.